Okay. Hi, thanks for coming in today, Leah. It's so exciting. This is our first time having a speaker on video. Usually we have speakers come into the class almost every week and they talk about their life and their business and their career path. And it's just such a great opportunity that we get to talk to you today. Thank you so much for being here. So I'm just going to ask you to tell a little bit about your education, career path, and then we'll have some time for students to ask questions at the end. All right?
All right. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited. This is really awesome that you get to do this. So my name is Leah Scheck-Snyder. I went to South Pasadena High School. Go Tigers. I graduated in 2015. And so I started high school in 2012. So I only did 3 years of high school because I graduated early. And I graduated as a junior. That was a big step for me. High school was not like it was in the movies for me. I always kind of felt a little bit off. I was an athlete. I played 3 sports, but track was like my primary sport. So that was really big for me. And my sophomore year in high school, I broke my leg. And so as a 3-sport athlete, and I really felt like my identity was in sports. When I broke my leg, I just had this like whole like change in pace. Like I felt like my world was shaken upside down. I didn't know what to do. And I felt really confused, right? Because that was like my thing. Like I was the sporty girl. Like that was my niche. And I was introduced to somebody who I think you guys know, Mr. Garcia. I used to call him Coach Garcia. It's crazy. He was a Tiger first. And he did rehab and taught sports medicine at my school. And so I would go see him to do rehab. And like, he really became a huge role model and someone I still look up to, someone who really changed my life because not only did he help me rehab through that injury, but he introduced me to medicine and I completely fell in love. So from there, that was my sophomore year, completely fell in love with sports medicine. We didn't have a great sports medicine program at South Pass at the time, so it really became important to me that I felt like I needed to pioneer some movement to like get our sports medicine program up. So I spent a ton of time with Coach Garcia doing grant writing and figuring out any way that I could help benefit the school and like really make a change to that program because I just wanted more. Like I wanted more for me and then other people to have the opportunity to learn about it too. So fast forward into junior year, high school still wasn't like super awesome. I definitely had some issues coming back from that injury. Now I know that they were probably like some mental hurdles that I had to get over, like anxiety and depression. But at the time I didn't know what that was or like really have a name for it. So I just thought like everything sucked. Like high school sucked, everything sucked. And so I decided that I didn't want to be in high school anymore. So I talked to my guidance counselor and made a plan with her to finish all of my classes in time to graduate with that graduating class in 2015. So I felt like I had nothing to lose at that point. Either I was going to be able to do it or I was going to just be a really lazy super senior. And gratefully, I was able to continue all of my classes and take the additional classes I needed for my senior requirements in order to graduate. And during that time, I definitely got to learn how to be an advocate for myself and how to be my own best friend because it was a lot of work. I was taking more classes than all of my other friends, and so I didn't see them a ton. And then I was also with Coach Garcia, so that was a lot for me at the time. But I graduated at 16 and I was like, cool, so I just want to get away now. So I moved to Maryland and I moved in with my aunt where I went and I went to Howard Community College, and I did a year of community college there. And when you're 16 and you go to college, it's a different experience for sure. I think there's a lot of maturity that goes into going to college, especially when you decide to go to college away from home. So I did that. And after that year, I had to go to community college because by the time I decided to graduate, it was too late to apply to any colleges. So it's funny, like I saw it, and this is happening now too. Everyone's committing to colleges, which if you got in, congratulations, that's super awesome. But I felt like really left out. So on Facebook, when everyone was saying like, oh, I went here, like I committed here, like I made this post, like I committed to myself, because that's like really what that move felt like for me, was like, I'm choosing to do my own weird path, and we're going to see what this looks like. So I did the year at community college, and then I reapplied to universities. I got into Drexel University with an academic scholarship, which was super awesome. And I went to college there for a year, and I had the typical party scene college experience that in the movies that you see. And I think that a lot of that was like a lack of maturity on my part, going to college being in a university at 17. It was a huge learning curve, because you're around people from ages to 18 to something like 26, 27. Because there's a graduate school there as well. So it was like a lot to try to fit into. So I did a year there. I did okay. It wasn't great. By the way, I didn't do great in high school. But in college I did a lot better, because I had to really learn how to grind through high school and to learn how I study. I suffer from test anxiety. So I had to learn like my own coping mechanisms and like how to teach myself stuff that worked for me. So college was like, I felt prepared, and like I already knew my own learning language, if you want to call it that. So I did okay, but after a year at Drexel, I decided that I wanted to come home. So I came home, and I took some time to like really reevaluate like where I was, and like I took some time to like a couple of months to like get clear on who I was and like what I wanted to do. And so my mom and I were talking, and she's like, you got to do something, like you got to get a job, you got to do something, go back to school. So I decided to become an EMT, so an emergency medical technician. So I went to school for that. I did not pass my first time, and I mentioned that because sometimes you're not gonna always get what you want the first time, or it's not going to look how you want, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't try again. I actually didn't pass by one question on the test. I'm a little bit angry about that, but I did it again. I took the class again, and I got the highest grade in the class that year, because like I was determined, like that's what I wanted to do. So I worked on an ambulance for 3 years after that. And so it was 911. So we worked with the Los Angeles County Fire Department. So whenever somebody called up 911, I was there. And that was kind of more of the crazy TV shows that you see, like I don't know the name of it, like 911 Fire or something, where it's in the field. That was more of that experience. Now I currently work at West Covina, a hospital in West Covina, as an EMT as well. What I do now is I work more with doctors and nurses, and I do procedural stuff. So in the ambulance, it's all about, we have to save you now. Like, let's do whatever we can now. And in the field, or in the hospital, it's more, okay, you're here, let's take our time and, like wrap up the case, whatever it may be, like, let's investigate more. So I do a lot of tests, procedures, and you guys can ask me more questions about that. That's just what I'm doing now, and I really love it. And I mean, I did fall in love with medicine when I worked with Coach Garcia, but I never knew like how much I really enjoyed working in emergency medicine. So that's really awesome. And fun fact, I didn't mention this, but I actually went to community college with a degree for criminology. And then I also continued that at Drexel, because at the time I went to a summer camp and I learned about criminology, and I thought that's what I wanted to do. And I was so terrified of changing my path, because I'd already gotten so many credits in that field. But I learned that finding out what you don't like or what you don't want to do is just as important as finding out what you do want to do. it's just as forming. Like it really helps you set a foundation for what you are going to do in the future. So yeah, that's like me in a nutshell.
Well, thank you so much. We have so many questions. One, how did you break your leg?
I was long jumping and I had a compound fracture, which means that the bone came out of the skin. So right in the middle of my shin, the bone broke. I was running on shin splints, which don't do. If you're in pain, just stop. And yeah.
And what are some things that you learned from Coach Garcia that stuck with you to this day? Just like one or two things.
So Coach Garcia, I'll do like life stuff because he taught me so much about medicine, but he definitely taught me to advocate for myself, because he really like showed me that if I wanted something, I was going to have to go get it. And he like taught me that like the ways to communicate with people and to be like a mover and a shaker, like go do the things that you want. And another thing is definitely
that's cool.
Like the importance of school and learning.
Were your parents on board with all these changes, these different things, and are they on board now? My
mom hated that I studied criminology. Hated it. So no, when I wanted to graduate early, they thought it was crazy. They didn't think that that was going to be able to happen, but I'm really lucky to have very supportive parents and parents that trust me and will be there if things don't work out. So they may have not always, like the thing is I believed in myself, which was huge. And they kind of were like, all right. And then they were right about a couple of things, but they're definitely very supportive now in my choices. And
have you seen anyone come in recently having drank Lysol or Clorox bleach?
I have.
Mute yourselves, please. Mute yourselves.
I have. There have been like 6 or 7 people who have come in. Do not do it. It's not good for you. Those things are not supposed to be good.
And is it? Can't they die, right?
You can die. A couple people that I saw were just very in critical condition, because what happens it'll burn your insides. It's chemicals. You'll get a chemical burn. And they really thought that would help them prevent. Okay. And are there any aspects of your current job that you don't like? Yeah, there are. That's in any job, right? Yeah, and I think that's like a huge part of growing up and learning what you're okay with, and then also learning like what you don't like and like that's not going to be something that you're okay with. So there are like a couple of things that like I don't love, but they don't go against my morals or what I believe in. And so I think that it's just one of those things, like you have to do some stuff you don't want to do sometimes. Oh yeah. I have those things at my job sometimes. Yeah. And do you prefer to work out in the field or in the hospital? That's a great question. Ambulance? I think now I really love working in the hospital because I'm around doctors and nurses and I'm just like absorbing so much information and getting to do way more like with the patient, because when you're in the ambulance, you pick them up, it's usually hopefully an actual emergency and you're speeding off to the hospital. So there's very limited time that you're getting to spend with the patient. It's definitely an adrenaline rush. It's very quick. There's a lot of quick thinking, but in the hospital I get to follow the case all the way through and learn the diagnostics and what procedures and medications and tests to run. And so for me, I want to become a physician's assistant. So you're still in school? I'm still in school. Yes, I went back to school. And what is your future goal? What do you want to? You want to be a physician's assistant? And so physician's assistant. How many more years of school do you have? A physician's assistant program is 2 to 3 years, depending on where you go. It's similar to a doctor, but you're under the license of either the state or a doctor that you work under. So you can be a surgical physician's assistant, you can be a trauma physician's assistant, you can prescribe drugs, have your own practice, all those types of things, but it's just a little bit different in terms of liability and having insurance for yourself.
We've spoken about liability in class, so the students understand. That's cool. And so you're going to school, and do you have any study methods that help you a lot? That's one of the questions here.
So, awesome question. I am an outliner. I love to outline. I like writing. Typing, like never, like I can type, but it was never my thing in terms of like absorbing information. So outlining, I used to make tests for myself because I figured like if I could make a test and like predict the questions, I would know the answers because I'm writing the test. And like that helped a ton. Also, studying with a friend, flashcards. I used to, in college, I'd put gummy bears on each paragraph I had to read. And like when I got to the bottom of the paragraph, I'd like eat that gummy bear. So that's like a little reward system that I would do. So.
And tell us, our students often want to know about personal finance things. So how about student loans? They're about to get out into college and take on some debt, possibly for college. Is it something that's manageable?
So for me, I was very blessed and I was able to receive a scholarship, and it did cover most of my degree. However, it didn't cover all of it. So I would suggest do FAFSA. If you can't do FAFSA, like you're not eligible or you don't get money or for whatever reason you can't, apply for, there's so many scholarships. If you want to talk to me after this, I will give you so many resources for scholarships. Like people will give you money to go to school, and like you just have to put in the work. And that's like some of the stuff that
I'm going to share. If anybody has questions, they can email you. That's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Of course. Yeah. And so,
No, go ahead.
And so scholarships, and then also now I do have some student debt, but it's pretty manageable. I do have some loans, but in terms of finances, it's actually kind of helping me with credit, like building my credit score.
Oh, interesting. Nobody talks about that. That's cool. And what is the longest hours in a row you've worked? Because we know EMTs tend to work long shifts, right?
So yeah, so we have a station that we go back to, and the longest I've done is 72 hours.
In a row?
And I didn't sleep the whole time. It was not enjoyable. I've had like 4-day shifts, but I've gotten sleep, so I feel like those not a lot of sleep, but.
Right, like you at least get to sleep in between a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit, but yeah.
Well, nobody wants to know what's the grossest thing you've seen. However, maybe you can share one cool thing you've seen happen. Like, I don't want to get all grossed out because I don't like to hear about blood and bones, but something cool.
I've gotten to massage a heart and saw they were in a traumatic accident in a car, and the steering wheel had hit them in the chest, and it cut their chest. And so the heart and things were exposed, and I was able to massage a heart. That was
Makes me, wow. That would make me teary-eyed.
Yeah.
Wow, that is pretty awesome. Well, thank you so much. I think we're all done. It was a success. Now, if I can get the rest of it technically organized, it'll go well. Thank you, thank you. If you guys want to say it again.
Oh, you can share my email.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they ask me, I'll share your email, and I think we're going to wrap it up. Thank you, guys. I took attendance in the beginning, but if you weren't here, I probably didn't see your name, so I'll check again. All right, talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.